Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Farmfolio vlog. I'm Erik Miller, your host, and today I'm joined by Mark Smith, very special guest that we have on the program today, someone who's been involved with Farmfolio for a long time, someone who's very close to the organization, is invested in a number of different projects. And today I wanted to do something that I've wanted to do for a while, which is bring in someone external and sort of share the perspective of the journey to Farmfolio and the journey to farmland ownership, and sort of some of the factors that go into the decision-making process here. So Mark, first of all, thanks so much for coming and being on our show. This is one of many visits to Medellin that you've had over the years.
Yes, it is. And thank you for having me today. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. And it's very nice to be back in Medellin.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit, just to get started, about your journey to working with this company and a little bit about your background and sort of the motivational factors that led you to Farmland.
Absolutely. Uh, with my professional background, for about 35 years ago, I started with a very upstart organization that became the largest physician placement company in the United States. Experienced a lot of success during that period of time, really enjoyed it, had a chance to be involved in leadership. I really at the core of the growth of the organization. So I'd seen that happen and really enjoyed that process. And then at about year 18 or so, we were acquired by a public company that focused on nurse staffing. And so it was really a perfect fit, a great marriage. My intention was to leave after about 90 days once the dust settled.
Sure.
And really discovered that that was an opportunity of growth for me that I hadn't seen in a while, to be able to both grow personally and grow the organization to a new level. Now that we were public, you got accustomed to board meetings and earnings calls and things that I hadn't seen before. So I stayed another 13 years, was president of the organization.
Sure.
Had a lot of personal growth, watched the company grow to in excess of $3 billion. But after 31 years, I realized I was a little tired. I'd run that course, logged about 5 million miles in the air and decided it was time to make a change.
Wow.
So made that transition. And then what that allowed me was something I didn't have before. That was time. Time to focus on my family, time to focus on my investments.
Sure.
Like most people that may be watching this, you really just reached out to a professional and let them do that. And they did their thing.
Yeah.
Did it successfully and generally. And most all of it was involved in the US stock market.
Yeah.
And while that was great, the ups and downs, if you look at the long run, it's great, but the ups and downs were there. And also absolutely nothing was tangible to me.
Sure. Yeah.
There was a distance between the investments. I own 1/1,000,000th of a percent of AT&T, whatever it is. And while it did serve its purpose and continues to do so, I wanted things that were something I could touch and feel and actually watch grow like I had from the early days
Sure.
of my organization. And I had become aware, I was aware of Farmfolio. I had known some of those involved, both from the founding piece and other investors. And from a distance, really educated myself on this. And I grew up in a rural environment,
Sure.
small farm, and we took the opportunity. My wife and I traveled to Medellin and went to Monteria and got to see that the coconut civic farm, and it was extremely enlightening. Like you literally could touch it, watch it grow.
Sure.
And so we became part of that immediately, and a significant passion, at least to us.
Sure.
Become part of that team and have stayed close and watching it. And it's been very exciting to see what's happened, both to literally watch things grow.
Yeah.
As simple as that seems, but also watch the organization grow, both in numbers and to watch the people grow. It's been very exciting.
Sure. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I think it's very reflective of sort of the members of our network who have come in from, I don't want to say identical backgrounds, but definitely similar backgrounds, coming from the corporate world. A lot of people who have been successful in the stock market or successful in their careers and are looking for something that's interesting, something that is, a little bit more involved than just sitting, watching a stock ticker, and also something that's diversified, something that has that tangible aspect that you mentioned, something that you can go and see and touch, and that's really valuable for people. But my next question is, a lot of people hear that and they say, okay, that's great, tangible assets, farmland, seeing the growth. But what I really want to know about is Colombia. And so what was that moment, because you are no stranger to Colombia.
Not now.
Not anymore. And, I don't even know how many times you've been here, but I've seen you here several times. And, what was that moment that really led you to say, okay, I want to put money in this country? What were sort of the factors that led to that?
Well, it's interesting. Like most of the US, you have this perception of Colombia. And God forbid you mention it to a friend. I'm going to Colombia, and and to make sure where your will is and the numbers you're safe and what have you. And I'm a bit of a contrarian thinker.
Sure.
And so, the first one was, hey, I just want to see the country and get a feel for it. And so we made that step. Had the opportunity to visit here in Medellin. Had the opportunity to go to Cartagena, which a little more vacation style thing, but also it was to see the country,
Sure.
to get a feel for it, and it was stunning. Everything I thought was 100% wrong. Everything people had told me was 100% wrong, and maybe it's just because their perception was from 30 years before and a little too much Netflix chilling. And that really created the perception of something that didn't exist. And you saw the beauty of the country. It reminded me if I grew up in Oregon and the chance you could lay a seed on the ground and you come back 2 years later and it's 6 feet tall. And so the richness of that culture, everything about the cities was just so amazing. And then the last piece of the puzzle for me was the people.
Yeah, definitely.
It started with, we left a backpack in a cab, which meant it's just gone.
Yeah.
If I'm traveling in New York, I never see it again. And there was a lot of things in there, a lot of money, a lot of documents. And in 15 minutes, here comes the cabbie back to me holding the backpack in tears as if I thought he stole it. I'm like, this can't be real. And it just continued on to be able to see that people. And then of course, we had the opportunity to go out and actually see these farms as I mentioned, and it just changed everything. And from that moment on, I really wanted to be part of it. And I'm probably not as much of a part of it as I think I am at Days Guy. I'm a huge fan of the organization and want to see it be successful, not just because I have a very vested interest, but because I just see I see the future. I see the potential of what the organization, the people can do.
Well, that's something I've heard from a lot of people, especially what you mentioned about the natural beauty. I mean, I remember when I first came to Colombia 4.5 years ago, and I'm coming in, flying, about to touch down in Bogota, and I just looked around and I thought, it's so green. I didn't expect it to be so just emerald, vibrant green. So that was a surprise for me. And then the people, the diligence and the hard work and the hospitality, people really are kind of coming together for the development of the country and for the good of the country. And so it's palpable. And I think that, you have a lot more foreigners coming into Colombia now. You obviously got in ahead of the curve. But a lot of people are having that exact thought. It's like, okay, this is not the country that I was told it was. What I saw on Netflix happened 30, 40 years ago. And so now that change is sort of becoming more into the public consciousness. But the last thing I wanted to ask you about, Mark, is something called Tribevest, which you recently had some experience with. It's a platform that we have been collaborating with to be able to offer private group investment structures. It's sort of the one-stop shop for setting up your multi-member LLC, connecting an FDIC insured bank account, which I believe they do for you. So walk me through a little bit of that experience and how it enabled what you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that Farmfolio had that I hadn't seen, at least in my experiences, was it allowed the small investor, I was still qualified, but to be able to enter the market, to put your toe in at a very reasonable level. It wasn't a big ticket item. And then you could, of course, expand on those fractional shares or lots and be able to increase your investment. We'll be able to see that. You'd feel part of it. But as you see where this is going, and I mean this as in the organization, of course, Colombia as a country, like I want to do this on a more material level. I want to own a farm. The whole thing. And it's complex. To be able to be a US citizen, to buy this in dollars, to convert it back around, to get money in, to get money out, highly complex. And if you want to create an LLC, to have the proper documentation, the banking laws, the governance, my experience, it was a $20,000-$25,000 experience. So that already puts you in a hole. And it was hard. And you reached out to other professionals. And then I became aware of Tribevest, and it was just a light switch. It went from me calling an airline to buy a ticket to using an Expedia, but much more. It's right. I did everything on my iPhone, and I created an organization. We started the LLC. We added the members to the LLC. You communicate with them. We established the government, the documentation. and the finance. And
Yeah.
again, protected, to my understanding, at least FDIC protected, but incredibly simple. I involved my son
Sure.
in this, and others, and it just occurred in minutes. It
Yeah.
was phenomenal. And then to manage it, in this case, I took over the role as the tribe leader. And it's just the time it requires for me is so minimal. And I've already had others approach me now to say, well, I want to get involved in this particular investment you're in.
Yeah.
It's so simple. You just add them, you have a vote, the other members vote, you bring the person in, it's just, I say yes on your phone.
Click of a button.
And anytime you have a question, instead of worrying about the investor relations piece, it is literally in front of you in the most intuitive fashion that I could imagine.
Yeah.
So it opened up a whole new piece. So, I think Farmfolio had done great with that with the loss program. It continues to do so. But if it's more material and you have a group that you want to get involved, you can do so simply and confidently. And it's just the transparency is amazing. And so I was very excited to find that and intend to use it in opportunities outside of Farmfolio.
Sure.
So we're very excited about that.
Well, absolutely. I had the chance to work with some of the onboarding people at Tribevest, and I was struck by how intuitive the platform was, and how the degree of flexibility that it offers in terms of, structuring the cap table and inviting new members, like you said, super easy. And so we think that's going to be a great solution for, bringing people in like yourself who have gotten their feet wet with the fractionalized opportunities and now want to take that extra step to, okay, I want to own an entire farm, me and my private network, and that's personal associates, family members, like you said. So I think that's going to be great. But I know that you've got a lot planned for your trip, Mark. I know that you're busy here in Medellin, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But thanks so much for sitting down with me. I'm so glad you had the opportunity to come in here and connect, and we look forward to seeing you around for many years to come.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and you will see me a lot.
Looking forward to it. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to be bringing you some more exciting content. I'll be going out to some of the farms and coffee region and speaking to some of the people on the ground there here in the coming weeks. So I hope you tune in for that. And from all of us here at Farmfolio, thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.